So we'll continue with yesterday's class. So yesterday we were discussing that the mosquitoes are the deadliest insects. So as you see in the slide, so around 4 lakh 75,000 people are murdered every year, and the deaths due to snake bites are around 50,000, and death due to dog bites, that is by rabies transmission, is 25,000, and the highest number is deaths due to mosquito bites. So since they transmit some deadly diseases, so the death is around 7 lakh 25,000 per year. So apart from mosquitoes, there are still other deadly insects. For example, there is an insect called rat flea. So this is a small parasite that feeds the blood of rodents, and it transmits bacterial diseases that causes bubonic plague in human beings. So the next deadly insect is rat flea, which is a tiny parasite. And in Europe, in 1347 to 1352, so 25 million people died due to the disease of bubonic plague that is transmitted by this rat flea. Similarly, in India, between 1896 and 1921, so an estimate of 12 million people, they lost their lives to this plague disease. So you can see in olden days, that is in 18th and 19th century, there are around 12 million deaths due to this plague that is transmitted by this rat flea. So especially during those days, especially in many parts of Bangalore and Chikbalapur. So if you are from Chikbalapur, there is a village called Hosudya. So Hosudya was one of the most affected village due to this plague disease. So deaths toll it peaked in November 1898 and resulted in decline of population up to 25%. So if you look in the diagram, so this is the rat flea. So this is a rat flea. So what this rat that carries plague bacteria, so it drinks rat blood. So the bacteria multiply in the flea's abdomen. So then they bite the human beings, and the human beings get infected by this bacterial disease. So in this way, the disease is transmitted from rats to human beings. So there are many deaths due to this plague. So if you go to Chikbalapur district, that is in Hosudya village, even today you find the temples built in the name of plague. So even Bangalore also you have some temples. So they have kept the name of the temple as Plague Marama Devasthana. Means at the time they prayed the god to keep away from this plague disease. So even in some places they have built marriage chowtries in the name of plague Marama. So this was the deadliest disease in earlier days. So among the insects, mosquitoes and rat fleas are the most dangerous insects that transmit diseases. So next, coming to the scope or significance or importance of studying the course entomology. So what is the need to study entomology? So what is the scope of studying this subject? So insects are directly or indirectly, they are associated with human beings. So we the human beings, we are directly or indirectly, we are associated with human beings. So we have to study insects for many reasons. So we have to study insects for many reasons. So these insects, they have different kinds of interactions with human beings. So insects have many kinds of interactions with the human beings as well as other forms of life on the earth. So insects are present everywhere. Insects are present everywhere. That is, they are omnipresent. They are omnipresent and have a frequent association with human beings as well as his belongings. So we need to study them. So there are some beneficial insects. There are some beneficial insects. For example, if you take honeybees, so human beings are associated with honeybees for the purpose of honey or the purpose of pollination. Similarly, for the silk, the human beings are dependent on silk worm. Similarly, in countries like Thailand and China, insects form important food. So, especially during evening hours, they go out for insect markets. So, like what we eat pakoda in the evening. So, people eat these insects as charts in these markets. So, these markets, they are present in Thailand, Bangladesh, and China. So insects form important nutrient sources. So firstly, why we have to study insects is they cause a lot of nuisance or annoyance to human beings and animals. So most of you might have this experience, especially during night time when we are about to sleep. The mosquitoes they come and they make a buzzing sound near the ears during night time. So they cause nuisance or annoyance to the human beings. So mosquitoes cause annoyance to human beings during night time. So apart from mosquitoes, there are some flies that cause nuisance to the animals. So you can see in the diagram. So they are causing a nuisance by coming near to the ear. Similarly, you can see on the face of the animal. So these flies, they cause nuisance to the animals. So why we have to study entomology is the first reason is they cause nuisance or annoyance to the human beings as well as animals. The second reason is so due to their enormous abundance and diversity, so insects function as a key organisms in any ecosystems. So because of their enormous abundance and diversity, they function as key organisms in any ecosystems. So insects are considered as keystone species. So insects are considered as keystone species. So among the insects, honeybees form important keystone species. For example, honeybees have been declared as most important species on the earth surface. So honeybees are declared as important species on the earth surface. So especially they promote sustainability among ecosystems by cross-pollinating many different plant species. So why they form keystone species is they promote sustainability among the ecosystems by helping in cross pollination of many plant species. So there is a one statement that 1 out of every 3 bites of food we eat is made possible by bees and pollinators. So remember, out of 3 bites, 1 bite of food what we eat is possible only by bees and other pollinators. So 70 out of top 100 human food crops that supply 90% of world food are pollinated by bees. So if you take 100 important human food crops, so 70 out of them are pollinated by honeybees. That is 90% of world food comes from pollination due to honeybees. So in the diagram, you can see the major crops that are pollinated by insects. For example, the crops like coffee, apples, almond, watermelon, zucchini, kiwi fruit, and sunflower. So these are the crops that are entirely dependent on honeybees for their pollination. So without honeybees, the crop productivity cannot be increased. So this is the second reason why we have to study entomology. The third reason is excellent genetical studies because of their grasshoppers form the important link in the food chains. So grasshoppers form important link in the food chains. Similarly, insects also form important link in the food webs. So what is the difference between food chain and food web? So in food chain you have only a single link, but in food webs you have a multiple links. You have multiple links. So here also at the bottommost level, you have producer plants. So the photosynthetic plants that are producers, they come at the bottommost level. And these plants, they are fed by insects like grasshoppers, butterflies, or fruit flies. So at the second level, we have phytophagous insects. So those feed on photosynthetic plants. And these phytophagous insects, they may be fed by predator insects, or they may be fed by predaceous birds, frogs, or rats. So these are at the secondary level. So at the bottom level, that is producer level, we have plants. Primary consumer level, we have phytophagous insects. Secondary consumer level, we have insects, birds, frogs, rats. And at next level, we have this snakes and wolf. And at top level, we have these eagles. So in this way, insects form important links in both food chain and food web. So because of their dominance in food chain and food web, we have to study insects. So coming to the other important aspects of insects. So insects are both harmful as well as beneficial to the human beings. So which are the harmful effects of insects? So which are the harmful effects of insects? So most of the insects, they act as crop pests of agricultural crops, horticultural crops, or forestry crops. So as you look in the diagram, so these are the some of the pests of agricultural, horticultural, and forestry crops. For example, you can see a caterpillar that bores into the stem of maize. So these are called as stem borers. Similarly, there are some root grubs that feed on the roots of the plants. So these are root feeders. So you can also see the defoliators which feed on the leaves. And also you can see the pod borers. So you can see a caterpillar boring into the pod of the plant. Similarly, this is the tomato fruit which is bored by the tomato fruit borer. So apart from this, if you have furniture in the house, so this furniture is also attacked by some coleoptera larvae. So in this way, the insects act as a crop pests of agricultural, horticultural, and forestry crops. The next one is they cause damage to the stored grains in our house. So whatever the grains that we store in the house, they are attacked by this insect pest. So you can see the Bengal gram that is attacked by this brookids. And also this moong bean or moong dal that is attacked by storage insects. Similarly, whatever the rice, which is a staple food for us, is attacked by some weevils. Similarly, the wheat is attacked by the weevils. Even the maize is attacked by this some storage beetles. Even the groundnut seeds are attacked by the insects. That means whatever the stored grains we store in the house, they are also attacked by insects. So this is also one of the reason why we have to study insects. So next, there are some insects of medical importance. There are some insects of medical importance. So there are some insects. There are some insects that suck the blood of both human beings as well as animals. So in the process of feeding the blood, they spread the diseases affecting man and domestic animals. So also there are some insects which are spread among the plants. For example, you might have heard mosquitoes. So there is one mosquito species called as Anopheles. So this Anopheles mosquito spreads diseases like malaria, elephantiasis, yellow fever, etc. And there is another mosquito species called as Aedes aegypti. So this spreads the diseases like yellow fever, dengue, or chikungunya. And if you take this Culex mosquito, so this Culex mosquito transmits brain fever from pig to the human beings. And next one is most of you might have experienced this eye disease. So this is called as Madras eye. So this is called as Madras eye, where the eye becomes completely red. So this is spread by a insect called as eye fly. So in this way, there are some insects which transmit diseases both in human beings as well as animals. So since they transmit these deadly diseases, we have to study entomology. So next, coming to pests attacking cattle and domestic animals. pests attacking cattle and domestic animals. So as you see in the slide, we have buffalo lice, dog louse, bird louse, cattle louse, and horsefly. Horsefly. For example, if you take this horsefly, so this horsefly transmit deadly diseases like trypanosoma, tularemia, and anthrax in the horses. So as you see in the diagram, there are some insects that cause nuisance to the animals. So you might have observed that most of the animals, they will be shaking their ears, or they're waving their ears to ward away the flies. Similarly, you might have observed that most of the cows, they will be shaking their tails. So they mainly shake their tails to keep away the flies that cause annoyance to them. Next, there are some insects of public health importance. There are some insects of public health importance. For example, some of you might have experienced this problem. So that is head louse or body louse or pubic louse. So these stay in the hairs or body or the private parts. So they suck the blood and cause irritations. Similarly, housefly also causes annoyance and spread some diseases. So already I have talked about this rat flea, which transmits this bubonic plague from infected rodents to the human beings. So since these are the pests of public health importance, we have to study entomology. And also there are some insects that transmit the viral or phytoplasma diseases in plants. For example, this is a brinjal plant. This is a brinjal plant. So this is attacked by one mycoplasma disease. So this mycoplasma disease is called as little leaf. So this little leaf disease is transmitted by these plant hoppers. So these plant hoppers, they transmit little leaf disease in case of brinjal. And as you see in the bottom of the leaf, you find white flies. So these white flies, they transmit viral diseases that causes leaf curl. So white flies, they transmit leaf curl diseases in crops like tomato or chili. So this is the leaf curl disease of tomato, and this is the leaf curl disease of chili. So these diseases, they are transmitted by the vectors that is white flies. So since they transmit the plant diseases, we have to study entomology. And the next group of insects that cause damage to the human beings are the household pests. Household pests. So the most important household pests are house flies. House flies. So these house flies, they transmit diseases like diarrhea, dysentery, cholera, typhoid, and anthrax. So since the houseflies transmit these deadly diseases, we have to manage them. So apart from housefly, we have other household insects like this silver fish. So if you have old books or old newspapers, if you open these old books or old newspapers, you can find this silver fish. So ants also are a major furniture. There may be some termites that might be damaging. And as all of you know, in every house you might have found cockroaches that act as a household insect pest. So far we have studied the harmful nature of insects, where they transmit diseases in human beings, animals, and plants. And also, they cause damage to agriculture crops, horticulture crops, forestry trees. And also, they transmit diseases among the plants. So, coming to the beneficial aspects of insects. So, what are the benefits we get from insects, or the dependence of man on insects? So, man is depending on insects for his benefit. So, the first beneficial insects are productive insects. The first group of beneficial insects are productive insects, especially lac. So this lac is nothing but it is a natural resin. So this is the lac, which is a natural resin that has been cultivated on plants like Butea monosperma. So you might have heard this Mahabharata epic, where the Kauravas built one palace made up of lag. So in Kannada, it is called as Aragu. Aragu. So what Kauravas did was they built a palace out of this Aragu, that is Aragina Aramane, and they made Pandavas to live inside this palace. So their intention was they wanted to set this Lac palace and kill the Pandavas. But somehow Pandavas escaped from this palace. So in Kannada, it is called as Aragu, and Kauravas built Aragina Aramane to trap and kill Pandavas. So what are the uses of this lac? What are the uses of this lac? So lac can be used in the preparation of varnishes. They can be used as a insulating material in electrical wires. So they can be used in the preparation of nail polishes, and they can be used in manufacture of bangles. So whatever the empty space that is present inside the bangles, they are filled with this lac. So whatever the empty places, empty space that is behind this bangles are filled with this lac. Similarly, they can be used in the preparation of polish, and in olden days we had gramophone records. So these gramophone records, they were also prepared from this lac. So the first productive insect is lac insect. So where its byproducts can be used in varnish, electrical insulators, nail polishes, bangles, floor polish, and gramophone record. The second productive insect is silkworm. Second productive insect is silkworm. So all of us are aware of silk. All of us are aware of silk. So the silkworm filament secreted from the salivary glands of the larva helps in producing the silk. Anyhow, you'll be having one course on sericulture, where you'll be studying in detail about these silkworms. So these are the silkworms that feed on mulberry. Finally, they pupate or cocoon. So from these cocoons, the silk thread is extracted. So this silk thread is used for various purposes. So nowadays there is no function without silk saris. Especially the ladies, they have more importance to this silkworm. That is the silk that is extracted is used in the manufacture of silk saris, which are used in various occasions. The next productive insects are honeybees. Next productive insects are honeybees. So honeybees, they may build their nests naturally in the big trees or the rocks. So whatever the bee colony you are seeing is rock bees, which are wild. So these bees cannot be domesticated. So nowadays we have bees that can be domesticated in boxes. So where we can rear the honeybees and extract the honey. So all of us know that the main product of the honeybees is honey, which has nutritional value as well as medicinal value from baby to old people. So apart from honey, so this honey wax, which is a byproduct, can be used in preparation of candles. So the main product is honey. The byproduct is wax, which is used in preparation of candles. And there are some crops which are dependent on honeybees for pollination. For example, you can see the boxes So this is the in the absence of honeybees. So this fruit is in the presence of honeybee pollination. So in this way, honeybees can be exploited for honey purpose as well as pollination purpose. And the next important one is, so most of you might have seen this cactus plants. So most of you might have seen this cactus plants. So on this cactus plants, you can see this white mass. So inside this white mass, you'll find white insects called as Opuntia species. So inside this white mass, you'll find white insects called as Opuntia species. So whenever you press this Opuntia species, a red liquid oozes out. A red liquid oozes out. So this red liquid is used as a dye. So this red color liquid is used as a dye purpose. That is, from insects we can extract dye which is used for various purposes. And also, if you see some of the plants, on the plants you may find this plant galls. So these are the galls that are found on the plants, and if you open inside, you will find some insects. So from these galls, you can extract tannic acid, inks, and dyes. So from the galls caused by insects, you can extract tannic. In olden days, this ink was used for writing purpose in churches or monasteries. And the major use of insects is insects can be used as food for animals and human beings. I think if you are some of the people from rural areas, you might have tasted some of the insects. For example, these are the termites. These are the termites, especially during the first rains or during the first monsoon showers. You can see some insects emerging from small holes from the ground surface with the wings. So these termites, they get attracted to light sources. So what the village insects remove their wings, and they fry these termites, and they eat these termites. So if you are from village background, you might have tasted these termites. So these are good sources of proteins. And this is a queen termite. This is a queen termite. So especially in rural areas, so the queen termite is fed to the babies. So, so there is a notion among villagers that if you feed this queen termite to babies, they will become intelligent. They will become intelligent. So queen termites are used as a food source for especially the growing babies. And if you go to some of the foreign restaurants in Thailand, Bangkok, or China, so they serve soup with insects. So as you see in the diagram, so this is a insect soup which is served in some of the restaurants at Bangladesh, China, and Thailand. So you can see here as we people eat grilled chicken. So in some of the restaurants you can find this grilled pupa. So this grilled pupa are served as some of the foods in restaurants. So most of you might have the habit of eating pakodas in the evening. So if you have a chance to go to Thailand, Bangladesh, or China, so you can visit these markets. You can visit these markets. So where they fry the insects and serve as a chats. So in this diagram, you can see the different types of insects that are kept in the market for sale as charts. So in this way, insects are important sources of protein, which can be replaced for mutton or chicken in coming days. So today, the mutton cost is around 800 rupees. The chicken cost is around 200 rupees, so which is costly. For the poor people, used as a alternate source of protein. And already I told you there are some important crop pests that damage our crops. Important crop pests that can damage our crops. So here these are predators. So predator means these are large insects that feed on the harmful insects. You can see here this is an aphid. This is an aphid. So the aphid is fed by this chrysopid larva, and these are called as ladybird beetles. These are called as ladybird beetles, and this is the larva of this ladybird beetle. So you can see this ladybird beetle larva feeding on the aphid, and this is a green lacewing. So these green lacewing or ladybird beetles, they are used as predators that can feed on the harmful insects. So apart from predators, we have so these are the parasites. You can see here, this is a parasites that is attacking the caterpillar. So you can see this is a wasp that is attacking a caterpillar. So here you can see this is the nest of the wasp. This is the nest of the wasp. So what the wasp will do is it collects the caterpillars and stores inside this nest. So after storing inside the nest, it will lay its eggs on the caterpillars so that the eggs that hatch, they feed on this larva. So these are the cocoons or pupa of parasites. So this is a green caterpillar attacked by this parasite. And this is a parasite called trichogramma. So this attacks the eggs of the crop pests. So in this way, parasites can be used in the biological control of crop pests. And insects can also be used as a weed killers. So insects can be used in the biological control of weeds. So insects can be used in the biological control of weeds. So you might have seen this weed which is called as Parthenium or Congress weed. So in most of the agricultural fields or forest trees or the roadside, this weed has become menace. So remember, the multiplication capacity of Parthenium is each plant can produce 25,000 seeds. Each plant can produce 25,000 seeds. So from one plant, you get 25,000 plants. So as you see in the diagram, these are some beetles. So this beetle is called as a Mexican beetle, that is a Zygrama bicolorata. So this can be used in the biological control of Parthenium. Similarly, when you go out outside in some of the lakes, when you go outside in some of the lakes, you might have find some aquatic weeds. You might have found some aquatic weeds. So even the aquatic weeds, they are fed by the insects. So as you see in the diagram, so these are the aquatic plants that are covered entire water. So these aquatic plants can be controlled by using these weevils called as Neochaetina eichhornia. So Neochaetina eichhornia beetles can be used for biological control of this water hyacinth weed. So in this way, insects can be exploited for biological control of weeds. And insects can be used for improving the soil fertility. For example, insects like ants, crickets, and ground beetles and termites can be used in improving soil fertility. For example, if you take these ants, so what the ants will do is they make nests deep in the soil and they help in the turnover of soil. So they bring the deep subsoil to the above surface. So in this way, the insects help in improving the soil fertility. And insects can be used as scavengers. Insects can be used as scavengers. For example, dung rollers, maggots, and beetles. So imagine if there are no insects, our environment would have a smell, foul smell. If the insects are absent, the environment would have a foul smell. So you might have seen there are some wild animals in the forest. So once they die, they start emitting a foul smell. So what these insects will do is they feed on the dead carcasses and keep the environment very clean. So you might have seen here, these are the dung. So if you go to the forest, there are the elephants which put heavy quantities of dung. Suppose if we leave the dung as such, the environment gets a foul smell. So what this dung beetles will do is they feed on the dung of the animals and keep the environment clean. So here, as I told you, these scavengers keep the earth surface clean and neat. They help in the recycling of nutrients and also they help in improving the soil fertility. So in this way, insects as scavengers help human beings. Next, insects can be used in scientific investigations. So insects can be used in scientific investigations. So insects can be used as a bioindicators of environmental pollution. That means if an area is most polluted, the insects will leave that area. So wherever the insects are present, that environment is fresh. For example, the insects that can be used for bioindicators are dragonflies, damselflies, mayflies, caddisflies, stone as a bioindicators of environmental pollutions. And insects can also be utilized in forensic entomology. So insects can be used in forensic entomology for investigation of murders. For example, if there is a murder, and if you come to know that murder has taken place after a week or 10 days, so you can use insects in the investigation purpose. That means a day after murder, one group of insects will dominate. So on the third day, another group of insects may dominate. On the seventh day, so by looking into that type of insects dominated, you will come to know how many days back the murder might have taken place. So in this way, insects can be used in criminal investigations. And insects can also be used in medicine. So insects have antimicrobial peptides that can be used in curing of some of the diseases. Maybe in future you may cure cancer diseases by using insecticidal antimicrobial peptides. And also the honey you get from honey you get from honeybees can be used in Ayurvedic medicine. Even the bee venom can be used in bee therapy. And some maggots, you can see here, these are the maggots. So these maggots, you might have seen that in earlier days when they were World War taking place. So during the World War, the soldiers used to get wounded, and they did not have medical facilities. So in this, thus what they do is they used to catch these maggots and they used to leave on this wound. So they used to leave these maggots on this wound. So what these maggots used to do is they feed on these dead and decaying wounds. That is, they feed on this uh, decomposed matter and necrotic tissues keeps on going. The new flesh formation takes place. So remember, maggots don't feed on new flesh. They feed on only the decomposed flesh. So in this way, the wounds used to be get cured by these maggots. And nowadays, some of the people are becoming diabetic. So if diabetic patients they get wound, they cannot be cured faster. So in case of diabetic patients, the maggots can be exploited. And also this bee venom is used for treating some of the diseases like rheumatism and arthritis. So what the people used to do is they make themselves sting to the skin. So by stinging themselves to the skin, the diseases like rheumatism and arthritis can be cured. And in olden days, insects were used for the purpose of entertainment. So today we have the entertainment games like cricket, and if you go to village sites, they have some cockfight. So they used to leave two cocks together, and they used to have these insect fights. They used to have this insect fight. So these beetles are called as horned beetles or stag beetles. So what they used to do is they make and they used to do betting. So in a village sites they bet on cockfight. In crickets they bet on this insect. That this insect will win or this. And these insects are in markets. So these insects are sold in the markets. So if you look to the diagrams, you can sugarcane sets. So what? If you see here, this is sugarcane juice. So this is a beetle here. So these beetles are kept for sale in the markets. So what the people will do is they look into the yes, and they will used in entertainment purpose. So in this way, in foreign countries, you have insect markets where insects are sold for the purpose of entertainment. And so insects, they also have, you have some butterfly parks. So nowadays you have some butterfly parks. So I think the slide sites are not moving due to poor internet connection, I think. Okay. So as you see in the diagram, so this is the butterfly park that is situated in Banerghatta. So there is a Banerghatta National Park, butterfly park. So even before coming to this GKVK campus, I was working at that Banerghatta butterfly park. So if you get an opportunity, you can have a visit to this butterfly park. And in our campus, from our entomology department, we organize some insect exhibitions. So recently, in 2018, we had organized one insect exhibition called as Kita Vismaya. Schools, they got this opportunity to visit this exhibitions. So organized. So these are of aesthetic value. You can see here. So this is this Rajendra Prasad auditorium, which is next to our Ganesha temple. So inside this insect exhibition, so many students from outside had a good time in observing the insects and enhancing their knowledge. Similarly, there are some insect museums. Similarly, there are some insect museums. Museums that is located at Tamil Nadu.
Sir, voice is not audible, sir.